What if I told you one of the world's biggest brands was built by a guy who had no clear plan, borrowed money constantly, and felt like he was one step away from failure almost every single day? This is not just a business story. This is the story of obsession, risk, doubt, and belief. This is the story behind Nike. And it all began with a man named Phil Knight and a crazy idea. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight is not your typical business book. It's raw, it's honest, and surprisingly emotional. Phil Knight, the co-founder of Nike, does not present himself as a genius. Instead, he shows you his fears, his mistakes, and the chaotic journey behind building a global brand. This book is less about success and more about what really takes to survive long enough to succeed. Today, we are breaking it down into 10 powerful lessons that can change the way you think about business, risk, and life itself. Let's begin. Point number one, start before you are ready. Phil Knight didn't have everything figured out when he started. In fact, he had almost nothing figured out. He was just a young man with a vague idea. Import high quality running shoes from Japan and sell them in America. No perfect plan, no investors, no roadmap. Just an idea and a willingness to try. And that's the first big lesson. You don't need clarity to begin. You need courage. Most people wait until they feel ready, but readiness is an illusion. If Phil had waited for certainty, Nike could never have existed. If you have an idea, start small, test it, take one step. Momentum creates clarity. Next point number two, embrace uncertainty. Throughout the early years of Nike, Phil Knight was constantly unsure. Would the business survive? Would the shipments arrive? Would they run out of money? The answer was often, I don't know. But he kept going anyway. Here's the truth, success is built in uncertainty, not comfort. Phil didn't eliminate uncertainty, he learned to live with it. And that's what separates dreamers from doers. Let's say, example, even when sales grow, cash flow problems almost destroyed the company multiple times. Yet he kept moving forward. Don't wait for stability. Learn to act even when things feel unclear. Next point number three. Passion fuels persistence. Will Knight loved running. He was not just selling shoes. He cared deeply about athletes and performance. That passion became his fuel. Because let's be honest, there were countless moments when quitting would have been easier. But passion gives you endurance. When things get hard, logic says stop. Patience says keep going. Let's say example. Phil spent years traveling, negotiating, struggling, all because he believed in better running shoes. If you are building something, make sure you care about it deeply. Patience is not optional, it's your survival tool. Next point number four, build a team of believers. Nike was not built by Phil alone. He surrounded himself with people who believed in the mission even when it seemed impossible. This was not just employees, they were misfits, dreamers, and risk takers. And that's what made them powerful because skills can be taught, but belief can't. Let's say example for that. Early team members worked long hours, took low pay, and still gave everything they had. Why? Because they believed in what they were building. Don't just hire talent, build a tribe, find people who believe in your vision. Next point number five, failure is the part of process. Nike's journey was filled with setbacks, bad deals, financial crisis, legal battles. At one point, the company was constantly on the edge of bankruptcy. But here's the key, failure was not the end, it was part of the process. Phil didn't see failure as defeat, he saw it as feedback. Let's say example, supplier issues nearly collapsed the business multiple times, but each time they adapted and improved. If you are not failing, you are probably not pushing hard enough. Next point number six, cash flow is king. This is one of the most practical lessons in the book. Nike was was growing fast, but growth created a new problem: lack of cash. They sold more shoes, but didn't always have money in the bank. This nearly destroyed them. Lesson: profit doesn't matter if you run out of cash. Let's say example. Banks repeatedly threatened to cut off Nike's credit line, which would have ended the business overnight. Understand your finances. Growth without control can be dangerous. Next point number 7. Take calculated risks. Phil Knight was not reckless, but he took bold risks. Importing shoes from Japan was risky. Expanding the business was risky. Trusting new partners was risky. But without those risks, Nike would not exist. The key is not avoiding risk, it's taking smart risk. Example for that: partnering with Japanese manufacturer Wakisuwa was a huge gamble, but it opened the door for growth. Ask yourself what's the worst that can happen, then decide if it's worth it. Next, point number 8: your brand is your story. Nike didn't just sell shoes, it sold identity, it sold performance, it sold belief, it sold inspiration, and that's why it stood up. Will understand that people don't just buy products, they buy meaning. Example for that: the name Nike itself represents victory. That's powerful branding. Think beyond your product. What story are you telling? Next, point number 9: keep going when it gets hard. There were countless moments when everything seemed to fall apart: legal issues, supplier conflicts, financial stress. Any one of these could have ended Nike, but Phil kept going. That's the difference between success and failure. Not brilliance, not luck, persistence. Yes. Example for that: even when lawsuits threatened the company, they fought through instead of giving up. Most people quit too early, stay in the game longer. Next, point number 10: success is messy. From the outside, Nike looks like a perfect success story, but inside it was chaotic, uncertain, stressful, messy, and that's the final lesson. Success is not a straight line. It's confusing, unpredictable, and often painful. Phil Knight didn't have control over everything, but he kept moving forward anyway. Stop expecting a perfect journey, embrace the chaos. Finally, Sudog is not just about building a billion-dollar company, it's about what it takes to chase a dream. It teaches us that you don't need to be perfect to start, you don't need certainty to move forward, and you don't need smooth path to succeed. What you need is courage to begin, passion to continue, and persistence to survive. Phil Knight's journey shows that success is not reserved for geniuses. It's built by people who refuse to quit. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe for more powerful book summaries and life-changing insights. And tell me in the comments what's one idea from this video that you are going to apply in your life. See you in the next video. Thank you.